Good afternoon. Hope you are all doing well and able to deal with the new situation we found ourselves in. Last time I asked you to watch two videos. The first one was about the role of gods in the Iliad and in the Odyssey, and that was important to me because I wanted you to see the differences. They are slight differences. Some of you won't even notice a difference, but there are some differences that you need to be aware of. So the first video was about the role of gods in the Iliad. It's a very brief video. The speaker says that in the Iliad, and that's true, gods are behind everything, and you can remember how they interfered in every single event in the Iliad. So what happens is all the doing of gods. Human beings are only like puppets in the hands of God. So it's all about gods in the Iliad. They have the absolute power and they are behind everything. In the Odyssey, on the other hand, things are different. And at the beginning of the Odyssey, and I remember that I mentioned this in class, Zeus makes it obvious when he says everyone blames the gods, but they shouldn't do that. He says human beings shouldn't blame gods for what happens to them, and he gives the example of the killer of Agamemnon. So he mentions how the gods advised the killer of Agamemnon not to do this, but the killer of Agamemnon didn't follow the advice of the gods. So this shows that human beings in the Odyssey enjoy some kind of free will. They are free, and the gods are not behind everything in the Odyssey as in the Iliad. So they have lesser role. Their role is minimized. For example, in the Odyssey, even though Athena advises Telemachus, she prepares for his travel, but she doesn't interfere in the fighting. She doesn't interfere in the fighting. If you read other books, you will notice that she doesn't interfere. And even though she knows that Odysseus is alive and she knows that Zeus is supporting Odysseus, she doesn't make this very clear because she wanted Telemachus to take an action. She doesn't want to do it herself. She could have done it herself because she's a goddess, but she doesn't want to do it herself. She wants Telemachus to take an action. This is in the Odyssey. The other video is also a comparison between the Iliad and the Odyssey in general. It comments on some similarities. For example, the speaker says that both texts use the same epithets for the shared characters. So Athena and Hera appear in both in the Odyssey and the Iliad, and the epithets used are the same. For example, gray-eyed and white-armed. So these epithets we find in the Iliad and in the Odyssey. But the focus more on differences, and that's important to me. Again, the idea of the gods, how they are presented in both texts. In the Iliad, the first text we studied, they are moody, they are deceptive, and they interfere in the battle scene. So, and I remember that I commented on this many times during the course. So they are moody and they are deceptive and they ally with one party against another. That doesn't happen in the Odyssey. So in the Iliad, they ally with one party against the other, and that's mentioned. And they are deceptive. They can deceive. They are willing to deceive. However, in the Odyssey, they are more merciful. They have mercy and they are helpful. The way Zeus is presented in the Odyssey is a bit positive. So there is a positive representation of the gods in the Odyssey. He's merciful. He follows the question of Athena, and he supports Odysseus. He is merciful. He is more of a god than a deceptive creature with supernatural abilities. So yes, so the gods in the Iliad are deceptive, moody, and they interfere in the battle scene. However, in the Odyssey, they are more merciful and helpful. Also, the Iliad is a war epic, so it's all about war. The Iliad is more mythical. Many legendary characters appear in the Odyssey, while war scenes control the sentiment of the Iliad. I think by this, whatever I mentioned about the Iliad and the Odyssey is included. I think by this it's enough of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Enough given the time constraint we have. As I said, the Iliad itself needs like years to be covered. It's not an easy text and it's very long, but given the circumstances we have, I wanted to give you the major ideas. I wanted you to know the characters, to be able to read, to pronounce the names. So I think that's enough of the Iliad and the Odyssey. What is included is the material we covered, the ideas we discussed. And as I said in class, if I want to ask you about specific lines, that would be from the lines we studied, the books we studied. So, as I said, I repeat, we will never get enough of the Iliad and the Odyssey. They are epic poems. They are very sublime and they need time, but because of the time constraint, we can't cover everything. Whatever we covered will be included in the exam. I think it's time to move to Prometheus Bound, the text you have just after the Odyssey, Prometheus Bound. So in this lecture, I'll just give you a brief summary and introductory information about the text, but you need to read the 500 lines and then we'll start commenting, just the strategy we follow every time. So Prometheus Bound is a Greek tragedy. So it's a tragedy based on the myth of Prometheus. The period is directly after Zeus assumes control of the heavens. If you remember at the very beginning of the course, we studied some theoretical material, and I explained how gods in Greek mythology are two families. So we have the Olympians and the Titans. The Titans first. So the Titan, Zeus' father is a Titan, and he rebelled against his father, and he assumed control of the heaven. So the setting, the period of this tragedy is directly after Zeus assumes control of the heavens. So it's a Greek tragedy based on the myth of Prometheus. Who is Prometheus? Prometheus is a Titan who defies the gods and gives fire to mankind. So he is punished. So Prometheus is a Titan. He's a god, a Titan god, who defies the gods and gives fire to mankind. So he helped human beings, and he is punished because of that. You will notice that the tragedy is composed mainly of speeches. So you won't find action. It's different from the Odyssey and the Iliad. It's full of speeches, not actions. And that's why, because Prometheus, the hero, is bound. I will tell you why he is bound. So I'll just give you a brief summary of the tragedy. It begins by three characters, Kratos, Bea, and Hephaestus, all gods. They chain Prometheus to a mountain because this is the punishment. So Zeus orders Kratos, Bea, and Hephaestus to chain Prometheus to a mountain. And then a chorus appears. A chorus is a group of people appear trying to comfort Prometheus. So then characters start to appear and to converse with Prometheus, and to converse with Prometheus. The first one who appears is Oceanus, the father of the oceans, who urges Prometheus to make peace with Zeus. But Prometheus tells him that his mistake, though he is not convinced that he has done something wrong, that he didn't only give mankind fire, but also taught them the civilizing art. So he taught them writing, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, agriculture, everything. So he didn't only give mankind fire, but also taught them the arts, all kinds of art. Then Prometheus, while chained, that's why we don't have action, because the hero is chained. He's chained into a mountain, and the characters come and speak with him. The next character who comes and speaks with Prometheus is a character called Lu. Lu is a human maiden who was turned into a cow. So a human maiden turned into a cow by the Olympians. Why? Because there was a secret relationship between Zeus and Lu. So the Olympians and Hera, in particular, they turned Lu into a cow. She comes and Prometheus is able to tell the future. So Prometheus tells her that Zeus will end her torment soon. And he tells her that one of her descendants, and that's Hercules, it's actually Hercules who releases Prometheus. That's 13 generations after Lu. Can you imagine? So 13 generations after Lu, one of her descendants, Hercules, releases Prometheus. So Prometheus is punished for 13 generations, and that's a very long time until Hercules comes and releases him. Until Hercules comes. Yeah, that's the plot. That's the plot. That's a brief summary of the plot. But I also want to highlight certain themes that we will be discussing all through the tragedy. So the first one is the resistance of tyranny. So who is the exemplification of resistance, and who is the exemplification of tyranny? Of course, Prometheus is the symbol of resistance. He resisted the will of the gods, the father of the gods. He resisted the will of Zeus and gave mankind fire and taught them the arts. So tyranny is exemplified in Zeus. He's tyrannical in this text, because when Odysseus doesn't follow, when Prometheus doesn't follow his orders, he punishes him, and harshly, actually. The fact that he's chained for 13 generations shows how tough and harsh is Zeus. The other point I need to discuss is the helplessness of righteousness. So Prometheus represents justice, represents wisdom, represents helpfulness, and he is punished for that. He is punished for being positive. This shows how his love of man, his love of human beings brings him the rage of the gods. And in all, it can be read as a representation of human champions in everyday life, how champions sometimes suffer for their uh, principles, for supporting justice. So because of resisting tyranny and justice, he paid the price. He paid the price. Another idea we need to discuss later, and as we study Prometheus Bound, is the idea of pity and friendship. Though chained, there is a kind of friendship between Prometheus and Oceanus, who comes and advises him, and he cares about them. He cares about his brother Atlas, so he advises him not to come and not to try to help him in order not to be punished like him. So there is that sentiment of friendship between Prometheus and some characters. We need to focus on this. As I said, this is an introductory lecture to the text, and what I want you to do is to read 500 lines, and then we'll comment on them in details, just the way we do in class. And next time, the lecture will be about the lines you read and the ideas you need to understand, or the analysis of the major concepts you need to know. So take care of yourself, read the lines, and be prepared for some analysis. Okay, bye.